Hello everyone, it's a rainy afternoon for me here, so I wanted to show you guys something I did for a little hobby I like to do. I like to make these paracord type bracelets. They're kind of neat and they're fun to do, with my daughter. So, but I needed a jig to make these with, and you know, they're like, you can go up to upwards of 20 bucks to making buying a jig to do this, and they're just wooden little pieces of engineering. So I just came up with a better idea, or with a simple idea, and I used the ratcheting 12-inch spreader bar clamp, as you can see here, and I modified it in so that I can actually make it into a jig and make my own paracord bracelets, as you see one of them here. So let me show you, go closer in what I've done. Basically, I've turned around one of the clamps 90 degrees in the other direction, and then I put, let me take this off here. Then I just drilled a couple holes through the actual clamp itself and bolted on this bolt right here. Made a couple of plastic straps out of a, believe it or not, a shampoo bottle. I just cut them out with the scissors and then put my little clip on them. And the same thing on the other side. Okay. Now this opens up to 12 inches, but if you wanted to, you could turn this puppy around here and put the bolt on the other side, and you get a couple more inches in the other direction, if you wanted to do that. Now, it works great for me. I only do one at a time. If you wanted to put two on here, you could easily put another set of holes in the bar clamp here, and then you'd have two for different size buckles, I would have to guess. Anyway, it's a fairly basic thing to make, and I'm going to show you what you need to do, what you need to have to make this, and I think you probably get it done in less than 20 minutes. Okay? Now, beauty of it. Number one, infinitely adjustable. You know, keep going. All right? If you're crazy enough, you can actually put two of them together and make it 24-inch wide if you wish. I'll show you that in a minute after I'm done the second one. And as you can see, when you let go of the lock, there's no way that's not moving at all in any direction. Well, in that direction, which is the direction of tension. Okay. Also, if you want to tighten it up, now you got to watch that, because this has a lot of clamping force. When you do this, you'll snap the buckles if you go tight enough, and I already did that. But I snapped the buckles without hurting the actual jig itself, so it's actually quite strong. So I'm going to show you how to build this and the things you need to build it. Here are the parts you're going to need to create this little paracord wristband or waistband or whatever, paracord jig basically. You're going to need a 12-inch ratchet bar clamp. You can use a longer one if you wish. If you want longer projects, you can use a longer one. It's just a 12-inch ratchet bar clamp or spreader. And I got this one at Harbor Freight, but I'll put a link to the exact same one on Amazon for you so you can get it. And then you're going to need several different bolts and nuts and bolts. You're going to need I'm using metric here. You can use whatever size you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same as mine, but you know, if you want the same result, use the same parts. I used an M5, two M5 bolts. They're M5 by 0.8 by 30 millimeter, and you're going to need 8 nuts for those. You need the 8 nuts. You'll see why when I assemble it. And then you're going to need 4 washers, 3/8 inch little plastic clip, the ones they use on the paracord bracelets. Okay, or whatever size clip you want to use. You can use various sizes. You're going to need an 8 millimeter wrench. I'm using an 8 millimeter socket driver as well, handy. You need an 11/64 drill bit to drill the holes for the bolts, and you need a 1/4 inch drill bit to drill the stop off of the spreader clamp. Okay, so, and last but not least, you'll need a piece of plastic fairly thick and tough, and that's I used the shampoo bottle, actually very thick, nice pliable plastic. And from there on, you're going to have to cut a piece off of that. So a pair of scissors is all you need to cut that stuff. Okay, and then from there, I'm going to show you how to put it all together. First thing we need to do is we need to reverse the direction of lock on that clamp, because if you put it in this way, you know, nothing to stop it. You have to reverse it. So you'll see that you can't just take it off because it's locked down. And at the very end, you'll see that there's a little dimple right there. And it's been punched through the metal, as you can see. And basically all you need to do is drill that out. And that's what I'm going to do. Now if you have a grinder, you want to grind it down, that's fine. I find drilling it works the best. As there's a female and male side of it, you see that there's the male side of it. And then on the female side, the 1/4 inch drill is just perfect size for that. Okay, so basically I'm just going to drill that hole out. And once I drill that hole out, then I can remove this ratcheting handle here and reverse it. Okay, I've drilled out the limiter, or the dimple on the end of this 12-inch rod, and I had a bit of a burr on it, so I just basically took a file and filed it down a little bit to get it nice and smooth, so that the handle doesn't catch on anything on the way out. So then release the lock, slide the handle out. There we go, and just basically wiggle it out here. There we go, like that. Now careful, because once you've taken this shaft off of here, some of the pieces in here can actually come out. The locks can actually come out. I'll open this up for you so you can see what it looks like on the inside, just in case you lose some pieces or the locks fall out. Next, just turn it around and feed it back in. Remember, the lock has to be pulled down to disengage the lock, so you can actually make it go in. Okay, so there we go. So now you have it in there, and the ratchet works, the lock works. You now can't, without using the lock, you can't compress it anymore. It used to be the reverse, you can't open it without using the lock. So that's another beauty of this, is that it does lock wherever you set it. Okay, so next we need to drill some holes up here on the actual clamps themselves. So what I'm going to do to measure that out is make sure that you use a washer, and you put the washer inside to make sure that you don't put the bolt too close to the edge. I'll show you what I mean. You can see that these are raised edges, so if you put the bolt too close to the edge, you won't be able to put the washer in, and then you have to drill another hole, which makes the whole thing weaker. So make sure that you judge it by putting a washer in there and marking it and then drilling it out. Okay, same thing on both sides, just like that. You can have it as parallel as you wish. That's what I did. And then we'll just basically use the 11/64 drill bit and the drill to drill through this. Now remember, this is plastic, so you're going to go through it very quickly with the drill. And again, wear your safety equipment when doing drilling. So next we're going to drill these two holes right here. Alright, so there's the holes drilled through on both clamps. I don't know if you see if you can see it right there and right there. Okay, so what we're going to do next is take our bolts, put a washer on the bottom of them, like that. Basically, reason for the washers is it gives you more stability on the plastic, gives you more of a bite on the plastic, and makes it the surface area a lot bigger, which gives you more ability to tighten it down, and it'll last longer that way. And then we're going to put the bolts we're going to put the bolts up through, so they're sticking up through these holes. And then after that's done, we're going to put another washer on top and a bolt to secure it down. Okay, so I'll show you that as the finished process next. Okay. There we go with the bolts through the clamps all the way up. One little problem I ran into, and maybe you should take into consideration, is it's hard to get the wrench in there to tighten those down after that. But you can take the little pad off of there and just hold it. There we go, just like that. So you might want to move the position of those bolts a little further down to make it easier to get your wrench in there. And after you get your wrench in there, then I just used a socket, an 8mm socket, to tighten that down. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do is put a set of nuts down, and I threaded them down to about the top of these pads. So the bottom reaches the tops of those pads. No particular reason other than it looks like a good depth. Then we're going to put another set of nuts on top of those. And what we're going to do after that is going to tighten them against each other, and that'll lock those nuts down right at that point. Okay, so use your wrench on the bottom one and your socket driver on the top. Or either way, it's up to you. Okay, so what you're going to have left is this, and these aren't going anywhere now. They're just solid studs. They're just, you know, cranked down. At this point, what we're going to need to do is cut a couple of strips of plastic from my shampoo bottle, and what I'm going to do is make them the width of these buckles right here, so the strap will go through those openings. Okay, so I'll show you when I'm done that. Okay, so there's my two little straps made out of plastic. You make them whatever size you want. Those are actually too long, but it's up to you. Basically what we're going to do is fold them like this. They're going to go through the buckle where the string would normally go through on these things, like that. Then we're going to punch a hole through the center of them, and that hole is going to be big enough for these bolts to go through. So basically what we're going to do is punch a hole through and put the strap down through it. Okay, I don't know what you want to use for punching the hole. You could use the drill bit, I guess, or you could use something pointy, but be careful with it. It is plastic. You're going to go through it quite easily. So I'll show you mine after I'm done it. So here's how I did it. I just hand drilled it through with spinning the bit through it, and made a pretty good hole actually, and get all the excess plastic off of there. And the next thing you're going to do, there's the hole, is put this on top of or through the head of this bolt. Okay, so personally, most of these buckles have some sort of a curve to them. Mine do anyway, and I like to put the curve through the top. So in other words, so that it basically goes like this when it's inside the clamp. It's going to be in that direction. Okay, so let's put that on there, and just, you know, it's pretty tight with the 11. I use the 11/64 drill bit to do this, so it's pretty tight. So I'm just going to screw it down on here. Again, whatever size you use the appropriate size drill. I mean size for the bolt, that is. There we go. It's pretty well down snug. And then your last bolt goes right on top of that. And that doesn't have to be cranked down. I just finger tighten that. And the beauty of that is that you can change it. You can, if you use a different size buckle, you can change, just cut another strap out for the right size, or even use this strap again if you wish. It'll fit a bigger one. But there's the one side, and next we do the same thing for the other side. And I'll show you the finished product after that. Alright, there's the finished jig, paracord bracelet jig. What you're going to do next is just pick out a clip, put it on that side, put it on this side, measure it out. I just use a tape measure, nothing really fancy there. Okay, so here's a neat thing though about how I space this out. And what's that, about 3.5 inches between the this inside loop and that inside loop? Watch this. 3.5 inches here too. So you can actually mark it here and have it correspond to what it is up there. Alright. So at this point, you know, if you're a paracord guy, you know what to do next. It's pretty basic. I'll just start it up so you can see it. Put some paracord through there. Make sure this is even. That. Tighten it up. Feed the string through the top here. Hopefully I'm not covering it up too much. Make sure we get that straight. Of course, you're never going to make one this short. Oops, messed that up. Okay, so there's the beginning. Stretch that out. You know, all you need to do is stretch it out. Is just pull it. It won't. It locks in this direction, not that direction. So there it is, stretched out. Again, measure that out. You'll see. What do I have that now? Let's get it on a about 7 inches. Okay. Oops, I'm measuring in the wrong place. 6.5 inches there. 6.5 inches here. So it's corresponding, okay? And you can just mark it here what you want with use marker. So there's the paracord jig all set up. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is a few modifications you can do to this. If you need more than the actual length that you're getting off of this, all you need to do is remove this side. Like that. Now see, it's just a bolt and another, and at that point you just pull this off, flip it around this way like so. Put your bolt back in here. Of course, you're going to have to change the strap around to the other side. No big deal though, if you want to do it that way. And that'll give you another inch or so in length. Okay, so that's the way you do that. Whether you care to or not, it's up to you. Personally, I think it's plenty big for most of the things I do. Okay, so I'm going to put that back together again. But like I said, you can reverse it. By the way, you can still use this clamp for whatever it was designed to be used for. No problem at all there. Okay, now I was going to tell you that the other thing you can do is take this end cap right off. Now I have 2 of these. Let me back that up. There we go. So now you have just that. And you could, if you wanted to, use 2 of these together. Okay, so you can just bolt these 2 holes here together like this, and then extend that, you know, that to a much larger piece. You could actually make a belt out of this if you wanted to make it long enough. Let me put those bolts in. Just like I said, this is just fun modifications for you. We'll take a couple bolts and washers like this. Just put through the 2 holes you already created. And these are, what size are these? These are M6s, 1.0s, and 30 millimeters in length. You don't have to use this size, as long as it fits through the holes. So this requires 2 sets of clamps, but big deal, right? And okay, then we'll take another one. Not sure what you'd be making. Probably just a belt or a strap or something using this system. Anyway, there we go. And I can't even get that on video. It's so wide. Okay, well that's as wide as I can show you on video. But at that length, we're at 19 inches. And I'm going to extend it the full way. And total length on that is now 30 inches. And if you took the end cap here off, you'd get another inch on that. And if you reverse this cap around, you'd get probably about 32 inches all the way around. So excellent system that way. So there's a optional little modification to your clamps to make even a much larger jig. Okay, next thing I'm going to show you is the guts inside the handle. Just want to show you that just so you see what it's like, just in case one of the pieces falls out, because I had that happen to me when I was pulling it off. One of the pieces fell out, and luckily I have two of them. So just for kicks, let me show you what's inside, in case it happens to you. So quite a versatile little system out of a couple of clamps. You can get yourself quite a large and lengthy jig out of the deal, paracord jig, and it's totally modifiable. Like I said, you can have more than one set of, what do you call them, clips on there, different sizes. Okay, so here's what it looks like inside. Okay, you have the locking part here, a little spring on it right there. So you bring it closer and still get a light on. Little spring on it right there, big spring down here. This big spring pushes up against two identical pieces of metal that are right there, and they're like a rectangular piece with a hole through the center of it, and then there's, of course, there's the handle. And as you can see, once you take the cover off, it basically falls apart. So be careful with that. If one of these pieces fell out when I was putting it together, I just took the cover off and put it back in again. Of course, you know, I had the ability to see what one completed was made like. So there's what it looks like inside. You'll see there's two of those there: spring, little spring, and locking handle here with the ratcheting handle there. All right, well, that's my whole self-made paracord bracelet jig or belt jig or whatever you want to make a jig, and plus the nice modifications so you can make a huge one if you wanted to. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I'll put links to the components I used here in the description.